Welcome to In Focus on this Sunday, July 13th, 2025. I'm Cheryl Wills. While many of you were on vacation, the City Council approved a nearly $116 billion budget on June 30th, the largest in New York City history. Most agencies are getting a much-needed boost, from affordable housing to child care programs. Even libraries have enough funding now to stay open 7 days a week. Our guests on this Sunday: Bronx City Council member Amanda Farias. The majority leader was in the room where the negotiations happened. She'll explain how New Yorkers will benefit from the record-breaking deal. Plus, Molina is with us. The commissioner of the Department of Citywide Administrative Services tells us why DCAS is the glue that holds municipal agencies together. And later, New York City, now 400 years strong. Let the celebrations begin. All that and so much more in a moment. But first, in case you missed it, Kelly Mena has a recap of the budget deal.
All items on today's general order calendar are adopted by a vote of 51 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions.
The 2026 fiscal budget was officially approved in a unanimous vote. The procedural vote came days after the mayor and the speaker shook on the deal. The $116 billion budget is the largest in city history. It includes funding for expanded 7-day library service, mental health services, early childhood development for 2-year-olds, and immigration legal services. The council had been fighting for the legal services up until the final deal amid the increased immigration enforcement and deportation efforts in the city.
Though the Adams administration continues to fail to recognize the crisis of violence and mass deportation before us, this council has stepped up and demanded more.
Council members noted that this budget was about prioritizing affordability and working class families. The budget added an additional $250 million in child care vouchers for a state program that was put on hold earlier this year pending more funding.
This is more than numbers in a spreadsheet. This is about giving working families, especially Black and brown families, immigrant families, the resources and support they need to thrive.
This is the first budget in which the mayor had not proposed cuts or staffing shortages. Mayor Adams is in an election year and facing a tough re-election bid. In April, the mayor had his federal corruption case dismissed amid a record low approval rating. Earlier in the day, this is what Speaker Adams had to say about this year's budget.
We can build a city where the budget reflects all of our needs, where families can afford not just to survive, but live and flourish right here. This is an electoral year, so it probably was a lot easier for him. For the council, it is always our prioritizing what is in the best needs of New Yorkers, and for that part, it hasn't changed.
This was Speaker Adams' last budget as the head of the council.
I say hooray and congratulations to us on passing a phenomenal budget.
That's Kelly Mena reporting for us on this Sunday. Let's begin today's conversation with Bronx City Council member and Majority Leader Amanda Farias. Lovely to see you again.
Good to see you too.
I appreciate you making the time. So let's begin with this blockbuster budget that everyone's talking about, nearly $116 billion. Let's talk about how it will impact New Yorkers. There's a lot to unpack here. You were part of the negotiating team, and you are very excited about the increase for child care programs. Tell us more.
Yeah, I think the best part about the child care vouchers that we have, which I think we secured over $550 million in child care vouchers, setting really families at the best part of what their future planning looks like. We're not only being able to put more money in women's pockets and families' pockets, but we're also starting education at such a younger age. I mean, we're even going not only from the child care vouchers for families to get them into these classrooms and safe spaces, but also from 0 to 2 care and expanding 3K and pre-K, really being able to holistically surround the child and the family.
And that's something so many Democrats have been pushing for in this city. Let's talk about the additional funding for legal services for immigrants who are under attack by the federal government.
Yeah, I mean, this is a situation we're in here in the city and really globally, but nationally, where we're trying to the best of our ability as a sanctuary city to safeguard our everyday New Yorkers that are really building this city and keeping it moving. When we're looking at the type of legal services that we are lacking or we need more expanded, it was really important for the council, a common sense policy and practice to incorporate more dollars in protecting everyday New Yorkers and protecting our immigrants and also our unaccompanied youth. Right? We have a lot of immigrant children that are going in and out of the court system, in and out of our schools and communities that need to make sure they have legal protections.
And speaking of protection, domestic violence. This is something that advocates have been pushing for a long time. More money to protect survivors of domestic violence. And on Tuesday, there was a big press conference. I know you were not able to make it because you were out of town, but you fully supported it. Tell us how this budget will help just domestic violence survivors.
Yeah, I mean, what we're looking at is where in the 5 boroughs have the most need. And unfortunately, for a lot of our boroughs, including the Bronx and particularly my district, we have a lot of cases of domestic violence survivors and victims. And the way that we have to do that is by bringing services directly with our nonprofit partners into our communities and being able to give, you know, our emergency personnel services the tools that they need. We've spoken in the past about some of the legislative items we're working on, like my traumatic brain injury bill, where we're supporting our emergency service personnel that answer those calls, but need the support to identify victims of domestic violence early and what causes them to lose a lot of the accessibility and resources that they have in communities. So these expanded dollars are the way we're telling women, telling survivors that we have your back.
And we see you.
Yes.
Because this is generally an unseen population, or that's how so many of them feel. Like, you don't see me, you don't hear me, you don't feel me. So that's a real plus. And now let's talk about affordable housing, which every borough in this city needs more of. And we're going to see more affordable housing as a result of this budget, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we secured in the City for All agreements the $4 billion in investments, and that's taking care of things like our NYCHA campuses and making sure that any of the complaints and items that are outstanding, their housing can be rectified, all the way to looking at affordability measures throughout our city and working with HPD, giving them more headcount, more personnel to help on those applications sooner and making sure we have more opportunities for expanded closing dates. We've even looked at different ways to help with estate planning, right? Many times we're looking at how do we create the opportunity for generational wealth in New York to have people pass over their homes to their children or to have people build their families here. With this budget, we've been able to not only secure additional housing units throughout this city, but also make sure that we're future planning for our families.
You know, before I let you go, last Thursday was Black Women's Equal Pay Day, and that's an issue as an Afro-Latina that's very important to you. It highlights the fact that Black women are, on average, paid about 66 cents for every dollar earned by white non-Hispanic men. As a leader in the City Council, how do you want to change that going forward?
Yeah, I think a lot of the things we touched on today are helping add more dollars to women's wallets and keeping them economically sound. But when we're looking at disparities, like for Black women at 66 cents and working nearly 6 months into a year for the previous year to make the same salary, or even Latinas that are going to wait till October 8th, we're really having to look at this legislatively to really get into what does salary transparency look like, how do we get more accountability so women have the ability to move up in their workplaces and apply for different titles or positions that add more benefit or more salary to, you know, their everyday wallets and their bank accounts. And we're working on, myself, Councilmember Caban, and Majority Whip Brooks Powers have a salary transparency package where we're now focused on not just the nonprofit city side of the workforce, we're really looking at the corporation side of the workforce and how to make sure that there is openings and more transparency in how women particularly can move up and in and out of different titles with higher salary ranges.
It's all about equity, right?
Absolutely.
So good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Thank you.
Bronx City Council member and Majority Leader Amanda Farias. And still to come, New York City celebrating its big 400. What you need to know about our quadricentennial on the other side of the break. Hey, thanks for staying with us. Joining us now is Louis Molina, Commissioner of the New York City Department of Citywide Administrative Services, also known as DCAS. Good to see you again, Commissioner.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And you know, you've been leading DCAS for a year now. I think it's safe to say that many New Yorkers may not know much about this very important agency. So I want to give you the opportunity to explain how DCAS is sort of the glue that holds so many agencies together here in the city.
Yeah, so DCAS helps the city just move forward, right? So we are most known for developing and giving out the civil service examinations. 83% of the city's workforce has to take a civil service exam to get appointed to a job. But we're more than just that. We manage the city's energy, which means that we're installing clean energy like solar panels on our city's buildings. We manage the city's procurement system. So we're spending about upwards of over $1 billion a year in goods and services for the cities, which has a really big impact on MWBE enterprises that want to do business with the city. We manage the city's fleet of about 28,000 vehicles, from police cars to garbage trucks, fire engines. And we also manage all the city's contracting that we do for all of the agencies as well through our procurement process. So we do a lot and manage the city's real estate portfolio, both buildings that the city owns and leases that the city signs.
Yeah, and tell us how DCAS will benefit from the new budget.
Oh, so one of the big things that we're excited for, the city council sort of opened up the eligibility for non-public schools to be able to have security guard funding reimbursed. So that's been opened up, and because of that lowering of that threshold that they'd have to meet, we have approximately 300 new non-public schools that we're evaluating for reimbursement. So we're making all of our school ecosystem safer through that budget process. So I appreciate not only the mayor's support in that, but also the council's support in making that happen.
Yeah, and in that respect, you also helped launch the city's first high school equivalency program,
yes,
right?
Yes, really excited about that. So it's
that.
called Education Propelling into Careers, EPIC, and it's a strategic academic partnership with Metropolitan College of New York. And when I was getting to know the staff at the agencies, we have a lot of staff that are in positions that don't require high school equivalency diplomas, but prevent them from being able to move up because they didn't finish their high school equivalency. So working with Dr. Gibbs, who's the president of Metropolitan College, he's been a great partner and really just a friend at the end of the day in our fight to make sure that we provide opportunity for those that we want to invest in. We started a program called EPIC, and with that, we allow, initially in our pilot was DCAS employees to attend Metropolitan College 1 day a week.
Wow.
And after about 12 or 18 months, not only would they have their high school equivalency, but they'd have 27 college credits, which opens up thousands of job opportunities for them. And we're really changing the trajectory of a person's life, both personally and professionally. And we've just recently opened it up and scaled it citywide. So it's available for all city employees that have not completed their high school equivalency.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now, you mentioned your oversight of all of the city vehicles. Tell us about the transition to clean energy. I know that's at the top of the agenda, right?
Yeah, it is. And our Deputy Commissioner, Keith Kerman, who's our citywide fleet officer, him and his team deserve a lot of the credit in this. So back when we were transitioning to electric, our goal was to have 2,000 vehicles to be electric by 2025. We're going to end up tripling and way surpassing that goal. We've surpassed that. We now have just over 5,500 electric vehicles to our fleet. By the end of the year, we'll have 6,000, which will lower our greenhouse gas emissions. And also what we've done is we've transitioned from traditional diesel to renewable diesel, which is much better for the environment. It has 60% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions versus traditional diesel. So we're making a number of headway from a climate perspective in managing the city's fleet. And we probably have the largest municipal EV charging network in the East Coast, which about over 2,200 charging stations. Will be at 2,500 by the end of the year.
That's a real plus. And before I let you go, you talked about your management of municipal buildings. Give us an update on the lease at 14 Wall Street, which so many people are monitoring.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to say that we're in the final stages of executing that lease. And 14 Wall Street represented not only a good programmatic fit for the clients that the New York City Department of Aging serves, it represented a significant upgrade for the work quality life for those that work at the Department of the Aging. and we're saving the city tens of millions of dollars relocating them to 14 Wall Street as far as rent is concerned. So it's good for the city taxpayer, it's good for the clients that aging serves, and it's good for the workforce at aging.
Well, thank you for coming in and explaining that. And now our viewers know more about DCAS.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. Louis Molina, Commissioner of the New York City Department of Citywide Administrative Services. Appreciate your time. Time for another break. In Focus continues right after this. And now, a flashback that predates our archives for a change. New York City celebrating its 400th birthday in 2025. And what a ride it's been. Look around, look around. Yeah, look around. There are events citywide marking the moment when the Dutch West India Company established New Amsterdam, setting the stage for the incredible melting pot that New York would become. The official commemoration is called Founded by NYC, which showcases the city's history, including its indigenous and enslaved populations. The New Amsterdam History Center and the city's Department of Records and Information Services are collaborating on this interactive exhibit called New Visions of Old New York, showing that after all these years, the city is still the place where dreams are chased and where different cultures mix and create magic generation after generation. And on the 4th of July, a spectacular fireworks show which coincides with the quadricentennial. Happy 400, New York City. You're looking at the work of Urban Pathways, the nonprofit now celebrating 50 years of service to the community. We're so pleased to have Gary Jenkins, Chief Administrative Officer, and Fred Schack. He's been here before, Chief Executive Officer of Urban Pathways. Gentlemen, good to see you both.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Fred, I want to start with you. You've been with the organization a good 20 years. It's always great to have you here. And we've been discussing the city budget during this show, and it's adding a significant amount of money to create affordable housing. How will that benefit Urban Pathways and the pioneering work that this nonprofit does?
So that's absolutely critical to the work that we do in two ways. One, the supply of affordable housing impacts homelessness across the city, primarily for families. But the people that we work with are the chronically homeless single adults. And for them, the need for supportive housing is absolutely critical. And in the budget, there are about 5,000 new units of permanent supportive housing for this population.
That's great. And Gary, you like to say this is a housing first organization.
Absolutely.
Explain why.
You know, I think when you look at individuals who are going through challenges, and, you know, we all have our challenges, but a house, a home, a roof over your head is the first step to get into a stable place in your life. So Urban Pathways, we definitely believe that a housing first model is critical because at first you have a roof over your head, and then we deal with all the other complications of life.
Mm-hmm. And what are you most proud of as this organization celebrates 50 years? And also explain, Fred, how things have changed over the last 50 years for the unhoused population.
So what makes me most proud is the fact that we have been able to successfully end homelessness for individuals who have lived with chronic homelessness for many, many years, in some cases decades. The staff, 400 plus individuals who work for Urban Pathways, are really dedicated, committed, and very talented in engaging this population. Homelessness has changed a lot over the last 50 years. You know, the reality is that when we first began doing this work, the populations that we were working with were not quite as challenged as the populations that we're currently serving. And the availability of housing was a lot better than it is currently. Right now, the vacancy rate in New York City is just, it's unbelievable. There are about 0.4% vacancies for units that rent under $1,000.
Right.
So even if you're working a full-time job in New York City and the rent is about $2,400 a month for a studio apartment, if you're working full-time, you need to be making $40,000, $50,000 a year just to be able to afford it. But once they're in housing, it's really important to make sure that there are services available.
Right, and that leads us to the total wellness program, right? That's
Yes.
so important to this whole paradigm. Tell us more about that.
So total wellness at Urban Pathways is critical for us. We want to meet our clients, our residents where they are, and understanding the complexities of mental health, but really having them understand that taking care of themselves, understanding their diets, understanding that it's important to connect with a community physician is critically important. You don't need to call 911 to go to an emergency room. You can actually have a relationship with your physician. That's so much better, like all of us, right? So total wellness is critically important. I keep saying critically important because it is.
Yeah.
Just to have that connection, to have that resource readily available to yourself, to our residents, it's important.
It is important. And lastly, Fred, you know, the working poor, you were mentioning that you need to make like $50,000, $60,000 just to afford, and that's not even a studio. That's not even a one bedroom.
Right.
You know, the working poor they have a tough time in New York City finding a place to live. And Urban Pathways has truly been a lifeline for this population.
Absolutely. Again, we recognize that housing is essential, that homelessness at its core is a housing affordability problem. And it's not just New York City, it's a national concern. And honestly, I am extremely concerned about the movements on the part of the federal government, and they're moving away from supporting housing affordability. And I'm really, really proud of what the city has been willing to do in really sort of leaning in with resources and committed to building a supply of affordable housing so that anyone who works in the city can afford to live in the city.
Well, here's to another 50 years of saving New Yorkers and giving them housing and total wellness. Appreciate both of you. Gary Jenkins, Chief Administrative Officer, and Fred Schack, Chief Executive Officer of Urban Pathways. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now, our final focus. July is National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, and we're highlighting a special event happening at the end of the month. Author and advocate Michelle Yang will join the National Alliance on Mental Illness NYC to talk about the intersection of identity, mental health, and body image for the BIPOC community. She'll read from her memoir, Phoenix Girl, that details her healing journey with bipolar disorder. Thanks so much for watching In Focus. I'm Cheryl Wills. We appreciate you spending your Sunday with us. Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. To keep up with important issues impacting our communities and hear more conversations with the people who are shaping the future, subscribe to our channel. You can also download our app or find Spectrum News on your TV for balanced, in-depth political coverage and more. We'll see you there.